Hi guys, how are you? Bonjour, comment ça va? I'm finally back. I'm so sorry to have taken so long to come out with a new video. If I'm being honest with you right now, I almost didn't post it. I've been going back and forth at it because, man, I just don't want to go through it. I know I'm gonna get torn apart in the comments for this one. And I mean, even though some things raise a lot of red flags for me, it might not for some other people, which is to me, it's a wonder how what I'm gonna show you is not gonna make anyone pause at least 1 second. But I am aware that everybody has different opinions, and not everybody will understand what I'm gonna show, and people are not even gonna want to see it. They're gonna right away assume that it's conspiracy, which is absolutely what I do not want them to do. And this is why I did my utmost best to only speak about things that could be fact checked and things that are based in reality only. I did not pay attention to anything that is not verifiable, and anything that is not based in reality. So all I'm asking you is to watch this video with an open mind and to just give me a chance, and then you can make your opinion. Please watch everything. If you're gonna say something in the comments, watch it all before you say anything, because I cannot tell you how many people just watch a couple minutes and then literally come at me in a comment, and they don't even know the full idea of what I was speaking about. First, I wanted to address one thing that I got in the comments over and over again, which is, why don't I leave Jim and Nicole alone? They are obviously innocent. Am I insulting law enforcement? No, I'm not. What I'm doing, though, is questioning why law enforcement stopped digging in a direction where, in my opinion, there is a lot of red flags. So right now, I'm going to answer that question and show you why I think they should pay attention to Jim and Nicole more than what they have. All right, let's go. So let's look at certain red flags to me, why she should be looked at, and Jim more into. First of all, I'm not even going to show all of them, just some of them. First of all, the frequency of calls incoming and outgoing between Jim and Nicole prior to the murders. I'm going to show you right now. Every little dot is a call, and you're going to see how it increases to the couple of days prior to the murders. That's just 1 week or 2 weeks prior. And the next one is going to be couple days. Look at that. Supposedly, Jim doesn't know anything, right? How is he not going to be aware of Chris when they talk to each other this much? And the grand finale being the second to last phone call at 6 a.m. in Frederick, made while she was in Frederick at the time where Chris left with Shannon's body. Just this one, if that's not enough, I don't know what will be enough. Then we have the weird searches that everybody everybody argues about. The searches that she made in 2017, 1 year prior to supposedly hooking up with Chris. That's not, people say it's a typo. It's not a typo. This is something the DA himself said. Look at that. It's not a typographical error in the report. The detectives are reporting what was contained in the data from her phone. I don't know the answer to the question of why or how those dates ended up in her phone. The dates to which you are referring to in 2017, where it appears she Googled or otherwise searched Shannon, was data that came off her phone. Rourke is the DA. Are you calling the DA a liar? Asked if the DA's office questioned or planned to question Kessinger about data suggesting she was aware of Chris and Shannon Watts up to a year prior to the murders, Rourke said that Chris Watts' guilty plea precluded any need to further probe the results of the forensic analysis of Kessinger's phone. We did not get to the point in our investigation of attempting to independently verify that or not because Chris Watts pled guilty. When you ask me if I have verified that information, the answer to your question is no. Nicole Kessinger told us that she met and started the relationship with the defendant in 2018. Right? So where the anomaly comes from in the data, I can't answer that to you. I don't know the answer to it. Rourke said that prosecutors are confident in the results of the murder investigation, which is closed. I have absolutely no reason to investigate Nicole Kessinger at this point in time, he said. This is not a witch hunt. That's his reason for not independently, aka on his own, verify why she had those searches in her phone. My job is to investigate and prosecute who was responsible for the deaths of Shannon, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. We have done that. I have no information nor any belief that any other criminal defendant is out there who is responsible for their death in any way, shape, or form. The Frederick Department did not respond to a request for clarification, and the person ends up by saying so much so for the DA wanting to know why. Then we also have that weird, secret, hidden LLC called Satya that she opened 4 months prior to Shannon's death. This LLC that was fine up until the point, up and running, up until the point where I released the information to you guys on March 25th. So Nicole went on and hurried 3 days later on March 28th to close it, which is proving us that she did not change her name. If she changed her name, she would not be able to do anything regarding her last name. She would not be able to close that LLC. And these documents right there tell you that she indeed closed it herself. She made the demand of dissolution in person, and she finished it online. So that's our answer right there, that she is not under another name. I even thought so myself. She had to be using another name. She had to have changed her name. But no, I also have someone very reliable that told me there is no name change records being filed for her, and no judge approved of any name changed. So she's still under Kessinger. So if you want any more info on that Satya LLC, you can go to this video right there that I made, and you'll have all the information that you need on it, including the meaning of Satya, which is borderline mind control vibes, if we're looking at that this way. I could also reveal more stuff about her. Like I think I found Sean, her ex, who's funnily enough, coincidentally enough, a geologist himself, and he works at the Colorado State University where she graduated from. And I could say many more things about him, but I won't. For now, it's not really interesting. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video if you guys are interested, but I don't think it's even interesting. By the way, do you like all these pretty colors I put for Nicole? So that way she doesn't have to go and bother herself to open privacy cases against me. I hope she actually enjoys that. So, finally for this video, we're gonna leave Nicole and Jim alone, just the time of this video, and let them breathe a little bit. Everybody can play. Let's talk about other people, right? Everybody will get their fun on this channel. Everybody will have their time to shine. By the way, thank you to the person that created the NK stick figure. I just added the text, the prior photo that you saw, and I thought it was pretty funny because it was pretty accurate. Anyway, my subject, my question for this video right here is, why can't we, the public, let go? Why does it feel that the majority of us, that there's more? For my free videos that started to be known as no nonsense, if I dare to say, analyzer, while still being open-minded enough to recognize that often things are not what they seem. And despite the fact that Chris is undoubtedly the person responsible for Shannon's death, Cece's death, Bella's death, and Nico's death, it's obvious, to me at least, and to a lot of people, that this case has been an oddity from the beginning. From the odd behavior of persons of interests, like NK, like we just saw again, to the odd behavior of the DA himself, who said his only job was to get a conviction, and now that it's done, there's no need for further investigation, even if there's red flags. I've never seen a DA in my life say that, but okay. Where was the DA from the Jodi Arias case? I wish he would have been that DA. Oh my God, he would have eaten NK and Jim alive. Anyway, also to the FBI and the CBI, their odd behavior, flying cross-country over half a year later to talk to Chris. And come on, guys, this was not like a social visit to see how well-adjusted he is or to find out what food he misses the most. And neither was it a favor to us to get an interview and put our minds at ease. It wasn't for that. It was for something else. It seemed like they were still doubting on some things, and they still talked quite a lot about Nicole herself. And then there's the almost paranormal happenings that I didn't believe in until I heard it for myself. I don't know if you've seen the body cam cop video during the dog searches, where even the cops themselves comment out loud that they're hearing disembodied kids laugh. Like, it was unbelievable. I thought when I heard about this, I thought it was people making up stuff. So I stopped the video that I was hearing and I went to the original official body cam video to listen myself. All I went knowing into this video was that I was going to hear a kid laugh and that there was going to be some EVPs. I didn't know what I was supposed to hear. And by God, if I'm lying, it is true. I heard it. I heard the little girl laugh when they were in the closet, and that's where they comment themselves out loud, like, did you hear that? And they were so distraught by it that they started checking several toys to see if maybe they could have stepped on a toy that might have made this noise, but no, they couldn't find anything. And then I heard the two EVPs. One of them, I forgot what it was, but one was in the garage, and you can literally hear it clear as day. I'm with CC. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, there's no way this video is that it's fake, that it's a fake, because it's the official body cam video uploaded by I believe it's the dog search people. So that was weird, right? And then there's, of course, NK fully disappearing. And the fact also that it's the only case in history, speaking of video, that we get to see it happening from beginning to end on video, like we were there. Despite the fact that we see that, we are also missing so much information, so much stuff that we would normally get in a high-profile case, like autopsy photos that have not been leaked or released by now. In a way, thank God for that. But on the other hand, it's weird. Every high-profile case that you can think of, there is at least one leaked autopsy photo. Even people say, oh, it was to protect the family, that's why they didn't release it. Well, I'm sorry, you remember the Jodi Arias case? How crazy, how disturbing those autopsy photos of the guy was? I forgot his name for a second. Travis Alexander, his autopsy pictures, and not even the autopsy pictures, it was the crime scene photos when he was still in the shower, stuff done in the shower. Well, they didn't bother to protect the family. They released it anyways because it was part of the case. It was part of the evidence, And some people say, oh, it's because they didn't go to trial. That's why, because Chris didn't want them to be released. Okay, fine. But what about now? How come it hasn't been leaked online at least? I don't know. That's weird. It's never happened before. Anyways, the list could go on and on and on. It's like this case is a massive puzzle that no one can ever fully complete because the pieces are either missing, and the pieces that we have, they just don't fit properly. So I wanted to understand how the conspiracy rumors really started and check for myself if they had any legs to stand on, or if they were just coincidences or just a fabrication. And I want us to start with a fresh look at it and forgetting all the rumors we've heard so far so we can look at it together and go from there together. I want you to watch this video forgetting everything you've heard conspiracy-wise. I want you to look at things that are only fact-based, and only then make up your own opinion and decide for yourselves if any of these conspiracies have any legs to stand on. I want you to decide. I don't want you to take my word for it. That's it's not my goal there. I want people to decide for themselves. Everything I'm going to show you might look scary, but it's all facts. I'm not going to show anything that I was not able to research and prove. If you have seen my previous videos, you know that I deal in facts. It doesn't matter if you believe if there's conspiracy in the what's case or not. It won't change the fact that what I'm going to show you are, well, facts. So first, I wanted to agree on two definitions before I hear it in the comments by the main people, so we can all agree on what facts are and what conspiracy is. And by the way, just a disclaimer, I'm not accusing anyone that I'm going to talk about. This is legally to cover myself. This is just us taking a look at weird things and taking those things individually, going back up the thread and seeing if there's something at the top that, well, keeps repeating itself. So if we see that several things match, then, you know, you have the information and you can decide what you want to do with it. So first of all, we have the definition of a fact. What's a fact? It's a thing that is known or proved to be true. It's a piece of information used as evidence or as part of a report or news article, used in discussing the significance of something that is the case, a fact. And then we have conspiracy, which is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful, or which is also the action of plotting or conspiring. So we're supposed to agree on that, right? Okay, good. So do me a favor right now and tell me. You might have seen this picture before, this photo before, but tell me, what color do you see that dress? This is a dress that a woman bought and posted on Facebook a couple of years ago. And lo and behold, she had no idea that it would break the internet. Because apparently there are two groups of people on Earth. One sees this dress a certain color, and the other one sees it another color. So what color do you see it? Do you see it black and blue, or do you see it white and gold? Supposedly, it's due to the way it was photographed with the lighting, the sun hitting it, whatever. What's important is that everybody sees it different. It's very rare that two people will see the same color. So do me a favor, and if you live with somebody, ask them. Or better, tell me in the comments, what color do you see that dress? We are aware now, including the government, of course, that there is a spectrum of colors outside of the visual spectrum that we're able to see. For example, when we cannot see with our eyes the ultraviolet light and infrared, our brains would be capable of deciphering it, but our eyes, or physical eyes, cannot. We are also aware how to manipulate frequencies to affect the human body and even affect the human mind. It's becoming a science. The science of hacking your brain, the science of rewiring your brain is known now. It's not something, a couple of centuries before this would have been sorcery, and now it's just science. Now you are even able to pick up books and to learn to do it yourself. For example, how to do energetic shape shifting, which is, for example, when you have a feeling, when you're very, very happy, to try to remember this feeling, to try to get yourself in that state while thinking about it. And instead of thinking about that happy thing, you keep the feeling, but you start thinking about something you hate. For example, let's say you love pizza, but you hate broccoli. The thing would be to try to get yourself physically feeling like you do when you eat pizza, but doing so while you're thinking about broccoli. Next thing you know, you will start loving broccoli. And you can do the same thing to make yourself hate broccoli. Think about the taste of broccoli while you're thinking about pizza, and then you'll hate pizza. It's just the magic of NLP. By the way, what you're seeing right now is a picture of a brain cell and a rendition of what the universe looks like. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? It's like the universe's giant brain. But that's just a little side note. Just keep it in your mind on the side right now. So yeah, that's why the picture of that dress is very interesting. It makes a very good point. Because if we cannot even agree on the color of a dress, which should be a fact, nobody should argue about the color of that dress. I personally see that dress white and gold. Do you? I'm sure some of you in the comments will see it black and blue. So how are we supposed to agree on something that is, a little weird, a little odd, something that requires a little bit more thinking and a little bit more analyzing, if we cannot even agree on simple facts like what's the color of a dress? Don't you think, if you already know that, now that you know that yourself, don't you think that the people in power could use that against you, against us? For example, to make us buy things. That's just the less harmful example I can think of. Think about it. There's 1,500 newspapers, 1,100 magazines, 9,000 radio stations, 1,500 TV stations, and 2,400 publishers. And all of this is owned by only 3 corporations. If you want to simplify that, it's owned by only 3 people, because at the top of these corporations, there's 1 person each that is really in power. So basically, all of America, of the media of America, everything you hear, you watch, you listen to, you see on TV, is decided by 3 persons. Don't you think these persons would be using things like what I just showed you, for example, that dress, against you, to their benefit? At least maybe not against you, but to their benefit. It's not far-fetched, especially now that we know that psychotronic things exist, and that if even us can pick up a book to learn to rewire our brain, do you imagine what scientists know that we don't know yet? What scientists are capable of? Even the CIA themselves, like I showed in my first video, admitted that they do use psychological warfare. It's not a conspiracy. The last time I showed this in my first video, some said in the comment, conspiracy. Haha, conspiracy. Man, come on. Look at this. Freedom of Information Act request accidentally provides government mind control files. These files that you're seeing on the screen right now is true, like this one. Look at this. The first graphic shows the outline of a woman's body, pointing out different areas that could be remotely controlled, induced with pain of pleasure, and stimulated in strange ways. One of the arrows points to the center of the head and reads, forced manipulations of airways, including externally controlled forced speech, meaning you can remotely force someone to say certain things. And this one is the scariest one, in my opinion. Another graphic shows the use of remote brain mapping and mind control by use of helicopters, trucks disguised as communication vehicles, media vehicles, and radio towers. Wave signals penetrating walls of houses and controlling individuals and groups of people. I mean, if that doesn't scare you, wow. And look at that. How many times people said something was conspiracy and it turned out to be true? Like the NSA signals and Project Echelon. It's true. It was finally admitted as true. There's some people that are dying every day for reporting on that, for daring to dig on that. Like that example that I showed in the first video that I'm showing again right now. That New York Times reporter who died for daring to dig into psychotronics. She pissed off a lot of people. Do you think right now what's happening with Notre Dame is just a coincidence? I am really touched by this right there. I was on the phone with my mother when it was happening. I was crying. I used to live next to Notre Dame and I used to go there like just about every night. I would either go to the Louvre or to Notre Dame because at night it's deserted. There's no one. You have it all to yourself. I would sit on the step with my friends and drink beer. And now it's on fire. And look at this, people already arguing, tearing each other apart. Look at this person that answered to the previous person saying that it was aesthetically pleasing to see the church on fire. They said, je vais cramer ta mère. On va voir si c'est esthétique. I'm gonna burn your mother and then we'll see if it's aesthetic. People are already tearing each other apart. This is on purpose. America has been a country for 235 years. 209 years of which there has been some kind of war going on. Divide to conquer. You've heard about that before, right? So think about it again, that everything you watch on TV, you hear on the radio, you see in magazines, everything, fashion, music, all of your tastes are dictated by three people. Is it really your taste, or is it just because you're hearing that song on the radio 23 fucking times? Sorry, excuse me for the F-bomb again. I swore I wouldn't do it anymore. 23 times a day. I get mad sometimes and F-bombs just come out. I'm so sorry. I swear I'm gonna do my best not to do that anymore. But don't forget, anyways, the quote of Roosevelt. Even him admitted that there is behind the government another government. This is not conspiracy. This is a fact. Doesn't matter what you think. It's not going to change that. So what's the link between anadarko, Vivint, and American Horror Story? I showed in my first video. It's a company called Blackstone. Blackstone owns Vivint. Vivint even says it on their site. They're not even hiding it. Then Blackstone is linked to anadarko because Blackstone Energy, which is part of Blackstone, bought anadarko's Eagle Ford acreage. They financed anadarko also. And guess who streams American Horror Story? The FX 21st Century Fox. Guess who's linked to 20th Century Fox? Blackstone. It's not if you think that's a mistake or it's a coincidence, okay, fine. Let's still consider it a coincidence. But humor me. Do me a favor and keep watching. And then make your opinion after this video is over. Let's take a look at what started all the conspiracies, which is the video at Nate's house.
Yeah, I thought nothing. Nothing for the rest of the day. Oh, that's it. She's pregnant as well. Not far along. 6 weeks. That's why your friend said it was low blood sugar.
This is what started the conspiracy rumors, that there was something much bigger going on. So if anyone doesn't know what American Horror Story is about, here it is. This particular season, called Apocalypse, is about a cult terrorizing the residents in the aftermath of the 2016 US presidential election. Apocalypse takes place in California during the years 2018-2021 and features the return of the witches from Coven as they battle the Antichrist and attempt to prevent the apocalypse. It's not the first time Anadarko is having problems. There was a big explosion of oil tanks that Anadarko were the owners of that destroyed the house and destroyed the family. And actually, Nicole Kessinger, was hired to make the company more safe, to watch the company's back when it comes to things like this. And if you check her resume, you will see that she previously, before she started working for Anadarko, she was working for Halliburton. Everybody knows how dirty, terrible, dirty company Halliburton is. This, again, this is no conspiracy. This is facts. I was able to verify it. She was working for Halliburton. She got recruited directly from Halliburton to Anadarko. And so I was trying to dig into the past of Anadarko. Since Blackstone doesn't fully own Anadarko, they only own part of it, I wanted to see more. And what the freak do I see? Production output. I swear, guys, this is on the Wikipedia page of Anadarko. 666,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. Not 660, not 670, not 665. It's pretty specific. 666. Somebody chose that. Guess what else? The coordinates of the survey site where Watts disposed of the bodies. I had already seen that a long time ago, back in February, when I was researching, I was going through the discovery files, and I found this. And when I saw that 666 was part of the coordinates of survey, which is owned by Anadarko, I kind of chuckled, because you see it once, it's funny, that's kind of weird, put it away. You see it twice, you see the American Horror Story commercial, okay, that's kind of weird. And now you see what I just showed you, the 666-pound barrels. Wow, that's starting to be a lot. So back in February, when I found all this weird stuff, I was a subscriber of Astral Pilot, aka now Operation Z Project Element was 115. And I was trying to give him information because nobody was talking about it. Nobody had found what I had found yet. I was the one who gave him the info on Jim and Sunburst, the company Sunburst, who a lot of Anadarko employees are recruited from. I posted this, what you see on the screen right now, on his Facebook group that he had at the time, which I think now he deleted it. It's not in existence anymore. So that's how he was made aware of the existence of Jim and Sunburst. He even thanked me. I wish I had the picture of the comments. Thanked me and told me it was interesting. So for people that say that I'm just a parrot of Astral Pilots, I beg to differ. The guy is a smart guy, but I also helped him a little bit. So I started digging into the Blackstone guy because Operation Z said that he might be a Freemason. So I wanted to see for myself if that was true, a Freemason or a Skull and Bones guy. And Astral, Operation Z was not able to verify that. Oh my God, what did I find about him? This, for example, is part of the 75 most powerful men and women on Earth. 75. Out of all the billions of people on the planet, 75 only are the people that are in power and that make decisions for us, the rest of us peasants. And lo and behold, the guy who's linked to everything, by the way, I'm not accusing him of anything, legal FYI, is part of it. So you start the list, you see the usual suspects, including Pope Francis. How cute is that? And if you keep scrolling, who do you see at number 42? The owner of the Blackstone Group. I'm not going to say the name, you can read it, right? So again, let me put that in your mind. 7.5 billion humans on the planet, but 75 men in power. Blackstone guy, number 42 on that list. And finally, lo and behold, I find what I wanted to find. I was able to confirm he's part of Skull and Bones. And he's not just any member of Skull and Bones. He's also one of the most powerful. One of the 13 most powerful members of Skull and Bones since the existence of the society. He's part of class of 1969, 1 year after Bush. Him and Bush go way back. Here you can see how they tapped him into the club and how many millions of dollars he donated to Yale. And look, besides being buddy with Bush, he's also super tight with Trump and Kushner. Isn't that starting to raise suspicion? And this is what is the scariest. Read this right there. By the way, if you hear some snoring in the background, it's my dog. So sorry about that. He's a big wolf that's 135 pounds and he decided to nap right next to me. So, Schwartzman, 72, is drawn to artificial intelligence because it's about identifying problems and finding solutions in paradigm-shifting ways. Something he says he enjoyed doing himself. He also relates to a discipline based on pattern recognition, symbols, which he said humans have been doing at Blackstone for years. Pattern recognition, pattern symbols. You're going to see how very important symbols are in this whole case. Like, for example, the symbol of Skull and Bones with the number 322, which is not just any number, like I will tell you in a little bit. Yeah, so you see, it goes with Bush, Trump, Kushner. It's a big club, and like I said, I said peasants, but it's peasants. Sorry, I'm correcting myself. We're not part of that club. Little FYI, this is why they renamed Operation Iraqi Liberation. Or I guess maybe we could consider that's a coincidence also. Or maybe it's a conspiracy. Operation Iraqi Liberation was changed to Operation Iraqi Freedom due to the acronym spelling out oil. Oil, which you will see coming over and over and over and over again in common in this case. It seems to be one of the top 3 things that are important to this case. And for people saying that there is no such faction as the Illuminati or the shadow government, well, here you have the former Canadian Defense Minister claiming the Illuminati is real and they have the technology to reverse climate change, but they want to keep it secret to help what? The petroleum industry. Again, another mention of oil. Is that starting to make sense to you? Is that starting to give you pause maybe? Paul Hellyer, who served as Canadian Minister of Defense from 1963 to 67, claims the Illuminati is a real entity that runs the world. They possess the technology to reverse climate change, but are suppressing it. He also talked about alien life on the podcast, stating that it is more advanced than humanity. Well, I sure hope so if they're traveling interstellarly, right? Hellyer said that the Illuminati are a group that conspiracy theorists assert controls the world's affairs and economy, and its members come from the worlds of politics, business, and entertainment. According to Hellyer, many members of the Illuminati have stakes in how well the oil industry performs financially. Think about it. If aliens would give us the technology of free energy, the oil business crashes and all these people lose their money. You have got a secret cabal that's actually running the world, and they've managed to keep this technology under wrap until they can cash in the trillions of oil assets that they've got, Hellyer said. And guess what all these people have in common? They all go to the Bohemian Grove to do this that you see right there. This very innocent looking thing. And what's the Bohemian Grove Club? Well, the Bohemian Grove is an offshoot of what society? That's right, Skull and Bones. Just about everybody that is in Skull and Bones is a member of the Bohemian Grove Club. And there is even more people that are part of our government and entertainment areas that go to the Bohemian Grove. So watch this and we'll come back to it.
He's come pretty close. She was part of a team that successfully recorded part of the initiation ceremony that takes place in the tomb's courtyard.
Okay, you have the doorway here.
Yeah.
Okay, then to the right you have a hedge, and then
Yeah.
you have an evergreen tree. If you follow that line straight back, courtyard's in there.
Okay. So that's where they have the ceremonies in
The outdoor part of it was indoors. So we only got to see the outdoor part.
Right.
We only got to and listen to the outdoor part. God only knows what went on indoors.
And what did you hear? What was it you know? You managed to get this unique
It was
access to it.
disgusting. It was gross. I mean, they were pretending to murder people.
What was the tone of it though? Was it jokey or was it quite...
No, it wasn't jokey at all. It was sick. It's about the only way I can describe it. It was sick.
What you're hearing is the first recording ever made of the Skull and Bones initiation ceremony. It has never been broadcast before. 15 new members of the club are being introduced into the macabre rituals of Skull and Bones by the senior students who are about to graduate. The club has what some might see as a strange fascination with death, skulls and bones. As the chants too, difficult to hear first of all, but including the devil equals death, death equals death.
This is an elaborate, occult, ritualistic entry into this group that they are
keep hidden, and get ready to infiltrate a super secret organization.
The society includes at least 3 U.S. presidents, Supreme Court justices, and too many senators and CEOs to name.
I'm Alex Jones, and I'm a radio and television host based in Austin, Texas. And for many years, I've been exposing the criminal activities of the global elite, also known as the New World Order. In past films, we've documented the centralization of power, the move towards world government, the attack on the nation state, self-defense, the Second Amendment, family values, that is, the family itself, as well as private property rights. But time and time again in my research, I come, well, eye to eye with something that's even hard for me to believe. And that's that the elite, again, the so-called establishment kings, those that know best, the visions of the anointed ones, are obsessed with the occult, from presidents to governors to the heads of industry. We've all seen the stories of presidents and first ladies obsessed with their astrologers making national policy decisions upon their recommendations, spiritual guides, shamans in the White House. My friends, it gets far worse than that. You see, for over 120 plus years in Northern California, in Sonoma County, on a 2,700-acre secluded redwood grove, leaders from around the world, prime ministers, chancellors, presidents, governors, again, the heads of industry, banking, academia, the media, Hollywood, only a select few, a little over 2,000 people, travel there to engage in bizarre, ancient Canaanite, Luciferian, Babylon mystery religion ceremonies. And I successfully infiltrated through the Secret Service, through the guards, through the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. We were inside 4 hours. That's only 1 day out of the 2 weeks that they meet there for the admitted Summer Fire Festival of the Bohemian Club.
Convention, and no doubt you'll be hearing about all the differences between John Kerry and George W. Bush. But we've discovered they do have something in common. During their respective college days at Yale, they both belonged to a group called Skull and Bones.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322? First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look for... Are you prepared to lose? No, I'm not going to lose. You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret. Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code? I wish there were something secret I could manifest. 322, secret number? There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it. And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
While in New York, we ran into the Karl Rove of 4 administrations. David Gergen, top presidential advisor to Ford, Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, and Bill Clinton. We couldn't believe our luck. It just so happens that David Gergen is also a prominent member of the Bohemian Grove, the offshoot of Skull and Bones. This insider of insiders, a staple of the White House for 22 years, got very upset when we brought up Bohemian Grove to him. He didn't deny its existence. He didn't deny that he was a member. He didn't deny the rituals. He just became angry and didn't act very gentlemanly.
Listen, I am a happy member of the Bohemian Grove. I like the folks who come there, and it's really inappropriate for me to talk about the group beyond that. Thank you.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Thank thee for thy adoration. Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Really?
That's right.
Well, I'm Alex Jones, and I snuck in there in 2000. I'm the guy that blew it wide open and got the video. It's been on national TV.
Well, I disrespect you for that.
You do?
I do.
But there's a lot of big public officials going in there. Don't we deserve to know?
You took I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about your film. But if you go in there with an understanding, you violated that understanding by releasing that film, and I don't respect you for that.
Really? Well, we have public officials.
I'm sorry. You took an understanding when you went in there that you would not do that film. And did you have an understanding when you went in there?
No.
Did you crash it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has no trespassing signs there too, doesn't it?
No, they put
yes,
one after.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I've been there before. I know what the circumstances are, and I'm sorry you violated the understandings. That was not a gentlemanly thing to do.
But what about the ritual? Is the ritual gentlemanly?
Sir, everything. I don't owe you this comment. This is what's called ambush journalism, and I disrespect you for that as well. So thank you and goodbye.
The ritual?
That's none of your damn business.
Oh.
So, what's the motto of this very inconspicuous, harmless-looking event? Weaving spiders come not here. Bohemian Club motto. That's all very nice and dandy and very poetic, but what does it mean really? And I'm gonna tell you right now. That's what it means. The club motto is Weaving spiders come not here. A line taken from Act 2, Scene 2 of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. By the way, remember, midsummer is not for nothing. The club motto implies that outside concerns and business deals are to be left outside, aka they are not meeting there to network or for anything business-wise. They're meeting for another purpose, and it's not barbecue, let me tell you that much. We can see that from the video, right? What's the motto of Skull and Bones, and what does 322 mean? What's this mystery around 322? You'll never guess. So a student of Yale by the name of James Edward Buchanan III, sounds very fancy, answered the significance of the number 322, which is firmly or loosely based upon biblical creeds, which is odd considering that it has a lot of satanic imagery. So the numbers 322 are in direct reference to Genesis chapter 3 verse 22, which reads, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." Speaking of how after taking a bite of the fruit, we got knowledge, and all we have to do is also take of the tree of life and we can live forever, which seems to be the number one goal of people in power, have as much knowledge and possibly live forever, which is where science is heading nowadays. Also, pay attention to how many of these type of symbols you have around you. For example, have you ever thought about the Apple logo, what it truly is? Doesn't it seem to you like it could be the fruit of the tree of knowledge that has a bite taken into? A lot of people don't realize that. The Apple logo is not for nothing. It's also related to Newton, but mostly for knowledge. If I tell you the very first Apple computer sold for $666.66, would you believe me? Because that's the case. It's not conspiracy, that's truth. And Jobs gave the excuse that he just likes repetition of numbers. Well, why not 777 then? You know? Why 666? So when we take a look at Anadarko's love of the number 666, does it start to make sense to you? Is it starting to ring alarm bells in your mind? That they have 666,000 barrels of oil production per day, and that one of their sites has the number 666 in the coordinates of. I mean, what are the odds, right? So I wanted to dig further into survey, and I happened on this video by a wonderful channel that I already spoke of called Conscious Truth, and she already has a video on that. So I watched it, but I think you should still watch hers if you want to go deeper, because mine is headed in a different direction. I'm looking at it from the symbol perspective, because remember, I'm not looking at all this conspiracy stuff to act like I'm fanatic or something like that. I want you to look at all of this with me from a symbolic perspective. I don't want to go at you about 666 like, oh my God, from a Bible thumper point of view. Symbols are super important on our brains, on our minds. I don't know that you realize that. I didn't for a long time. Mind control using symbolism in words and numbers. This is known. Please don't tell me that the three people in power that I talked to you about don't use that. Look at this. Pilot study of the effect of religious symbols on brain function, specifically religious symbols. This study found that negative symbols suppress a certain part of our brain. Here I show you certain common symbols that you see every day, what their true meaning is, or if you want, since we don't want to be conspiracy theorists, what they look alike, what they're very similar. Like, for example, Google, the logo of Google kind of resembles a 666, right? And By the way, for anyone that knows conspiracy theories, you heard about the Mandela effect. Everybody thought Mandela was dead. Well, no, he's very much alive and he's very high up in Freemasonry ranks. If you ever know about Mandela effect right now. But yeah, the government is very aware of the effect of symbol on us, and they're using and abusing of it. And like I will show you later, specifically negative religious symbols have a huge impact on us. May you be religious or not, it doesn't matter. It still has an effect on you. Don't get anything twisted there. So let's look at the meaning of survey. Survey, if you put it in Google Translate, is the plural form of deer or stag. What's with deer, stag, and their association with evil and satanic images in the media? The stag is an occult demonology symbol for Furfur, a great earl of hell and leader of 29 legions of demons. His domains are love, storms, tempests, thunder, lightning, and lies. His image has been around for around 3,000 years or so. It may also have to do with Cernunnos, a horn god of Celtic paganism, and is associated with the underworld. Is associated with deer, stags, and the like. A lot of the devil or Satan imagery was brought into popular culture in relatively modern times. It was taken from the Greek depiction of Pan, who was an agent of chaos and obviously panic. Even though he wasn't evil per se, he worked as a substitution for the devil. Pan has antlers, hooves, etc. This is mostly how stag, goats color line with the devil. And then a very smart comment said, the media are the satanic ones that just absolutely love spreading fear. But I think the idea comes from ancient shamanic traditions or ancestors did, which has been distorted and warped to benefit the powers that be. Hope this helps. This is like the most aware comment I saw in that thread actually. This guy knows what's up. So we can see that survey is plural for the stag, meaning that there would be several entities, which would say Furfur, Cernunnos, and Pan. This is what Furfur looks like. A powerful great earl of hell, being the ruler of 29 legions of demons, a liar unless compelled to enter a magic triangle where he gives true answers to every question, speaking with a rough voice. Keep in mind right there that it's not something literally. We're looking at it from a symbolic way, okay? I'm not trying to come at you like I'm a fanatic again. Read this. The 34th spirit is Furfur. He is a great and mighty earl, appearing in the form of a hart, well, the deer, with a fiery tail. He never speaketh truth, unless he be compelled or brought up within a triangle. O being therein, he will take upon himself the form of an angel. Being bidden, he speaketh with a hoarse voice, and he also will wittingly urge love between man and woman. He can raise lightnings and thunders, blasts and great tempestuous storms, and he giveth true answers both of things secret and divine. If commanded, he ruleth over 26 or 29 legions of spirits, and this is his seal. And that's the seal of Furfur. Here's a little bit more information. Colin de Plancy has shown Furfur as a monster with the hindquarters and head of a hart, or a deer, but the breast and arms of a man, and bat-like wings that carry him through the air. Mathers broadened this demon's love-making abilities to read, he will wittingly urge love between man and woman. But the intention of the original text was to indicate this demon enables and encourages lawful, loving relations within the bounds of marriage. This is the... do you get this? The survey site where Shannon was buried? The story with Chris and the man cheating on his wife, killing his wife to be with his lover? Is that starting to ring bells? Is that starting to remind you things? I don't know. To me, that when I that, oh my God, that was like, wow, what a coincidence. Again, another coincidence. Because when you take this on a case-by-case basis, they all look like coincidence. But when you start to add them up all together, 666 here, 666 there, this, oh my God. And check out about Cernunnos, which is the horned one, or he who has horned. He is accompanied by his symbols of the stag, ram, bull, and holding a horned and spotted serpent of worms. Basically, a dude that comes with all his bodies that are horned. Hence the plural word of servi instead of servo. Horned gods and goddesses, kings and emperors is a common theme you will find through the history of the world. The horns signify what is known as our Ammon's horn and or hippocampus, which is our brain's memory processing unit. These horns are ancient symbols of religions of gnosis and memory. Guys, Ammon's horn and or hippocampus, which is our brain's memory processing unit. Brainwashing, using symbols to affect our brains. Is that starting to be scary? This is the blue part right there in this drawing is our hippocampus and the area where the Ammon's horn is. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, when you cut the brain in half like this and you take a look at it like that from this angle, you see this big round eye-like thing in the middle. Is that reminding you of anything? The first time I saw this years ago, I was blown away by it. This is exactly what the Egyptians used to depict as the third eye. I know this image, the image right there is a little blurry, but I'll have one a little less blurry for you in the next page. How is it that 3,500 years ago, Egyptians already knew about this? And what's the middle is the pineal gland, which is supposedly something that upon our birth and death is flooded with DMT, which supposedly is our divine connection. It's pretty crazy when you start researching it. So when you now know that religious symbols have a negative impact on this part, I mean, isn't that giving you pause a little bit? The Eye of Horus is a secret map for our brain. This symbol right there, the Eye of Horus. This is very important for you to remember that name, Horus. It bears an uncanny resemblance to the center of the brain. And as a talisman, it amplifies our spiritual forces and connects us with the divine. So, again, remember, Eye of Horus. I don't know how the Egyptians knew that stuff, but if I told you that Lucifer is another word for phosphorus, the Latin word corresponding to Greek phosphorus is Lucifer. Phosphorus, or phosphoros, is a name meaning light bringer. Is the morning star. When phosphorus is combined with the elements below and carbon, it forms our very DNA. When combined with oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and many groups of important biological compounds like sugars, chitins, alcohol, fats, and all that stuff, antibiotics, amino acids, it forms DNA and RNA, ribonucleic acid, the chemical code carriers of life, the very stuff that makes our DNA. I mean, isn't that mind-blowing to you? That Lucifer, the thing they worship, the entity they worship, really is what sparks our DNA? Because think about it. What elements has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons? 666. Carbon. Carbon 12. What are we made of? We are made out of carbon 12, guys. 666 is the representation of carbon, the stuff we are made of. Isn't that mind-blowing to you? Again, I have to use this word because to me, if I had never heard of this and somebody was telling me, not telling me, but showing me what I'm showing you right now, I would be mind-blown. Like, seriously. I don't even know what to say. This is like... It's giving me speechless. What man has the number 666? The man, the number of a man, also the number of the beast, The science of 666. Let's take a look at that real quick, if you don't mind. Again, I'm not a Bible thumper, okay? I found this very good article on the science of 666 that says, we are the gods of the atoms that make up ourselves, but we are also the atoms of the gods that make up the universe. And that's a quote from Manly P. Hall, extremely well-known Freemason. Again, Freemasons, skull and bones coming back in the picture, right? Does that ring a bell too? Man made in the image of God? The number 666 relates to the carbon atom, and man, carbon-12, one of the 5 elements in the human DNA, is composed of 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons, which equates to 666. Carbon-12 is the most abundant of the 2 stable isotopes of the element carbon, accounting for 98.89% of carbon. Its abundance is due to the triple alpha process, which is created in stars, and as Carl Sagan had once said, we are made of star stuff. Pretty crazy, right? The English name carbon comes from the Latin carbo for coal and charcoal. It also comes from the French charbon, meaning charcoal. Proof of 666 is found in the Bible via Isaiah 6:6, which is not a coincidence, by the way. When one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. The name seraphim, meaning the burning ones, are the first hierarchy of angels, who some call demons, that were cherubim and thrones. Beelzebub was a prince of the seraphim, prince of the burning ones, just below Lucifer, Lucifer being phosphorus. Do you remember what I told you about the eye of Horus? And phosphorus being what sparks our DNA with sulfur? There you go. When 666 of carbon is combined with the elements that I told you earlier and mixed with Lucifer, aka phosphorus, we get a combination or reaction of chemical elements that forms DNA and RNA. This magical God-given chemical code carrier is the very code for all life. And of course, it is the number of a man. His number is 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. 600 free scores and 666. Various chemical elements, when combined with carbon, forms our very material reality, or what some may call the matrix. Which, by the way, in my third video, the commenter said, who's this old bald guy, this ugly bald guy with glasses in the picture? Well, it's a character of the movie The Matrix, called Morpheus, the guy that has the ability to show the main character in the movie what is the true reality. So here you go. 666 could represent many possible scenarios or conspiracies, but the truth is that this number was passed down to us for the apocalypse, the unveiling of something hidden. To help identify this beastman with the mathematical number 666. That's the most religious aspect side of things. The number 666 may be the sequence of DNA genetic signals or DNA fragments necessary for successful cloning. Immortality, you know? The elite trying to have immortality. Is that starting to be scary? Yes, my friend, you and I may very well be the beast and antichrist our forefathers warned us about. Do you remember the lyrics of the song that Chris Googled when he was at the service site after having buried Chenan and disposed of the girls? Crushing all deceivers, mashing non-believers, never-ending potency, hungry violence seeker, feeding on the weaker, breeding on insanity, smashing through the boundaries, lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery, Pondiga aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family, battery is found in me, battery, circle of destruction, hammer comes down crushing, powerhouse of energy, whipping up a fury, dominating flurry, we create the battery. Smashing through the boundaries lunacy has found me cannot butt the battery. Is it starting to look like Chris could have been somewhat turning obsessive in some way, shape, or form? Could he have been affected by certain symbols around him? Don't get me wrong, he had already the evil inside of him to be able to do that. But let's take a look at the meaning of 3:19 in the Bible, because there's not just one, there's several. John 3:19 is one of them. Let's not forget that survey isn't just survey, it's survey 3:19. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. This is the first passage in the Bible under the Numbers 3:19. There are way more than that, and I'm going to show you all of them one by one, and we're going to see how it links to this case, how crazy it is, how eerie it is, like right now. So light reveals truth and exposes what was hidden. Many people would prefer to hide in darkness rather than to be exposed by the light. This, according to verse 19, is the reason why many people reject Jesus. His life, his teachings expose every single person as a sinner, because I guess here they are attributing the metaphor of light as for Jesus. Jesus, as what John refers to, is light. But for the purposes of our video here, we're looking at the symbols again. Remember that. Then we have, if we do what Satanists love to do, which is to reverse things, we have Matthew 19:3 for me, which is the craziest part. Some Pharisees came and tried to trap him with this question: should a man be allowed to divorce his wife for just any reason? I mean, guys, wow, you can't make this up. You just can't. Even if I would make it up, if I would try to make it up, I wouldn't even come with something that good. It says it's black on white right there. Should a man be allowed to divorce his wife? And then you have Peter 3:19. So he went and preached to the spirits now in prison, in which he also went and made proclamation to the spirits now in prison. Where is Chris? He is not in prison, and he apparently has not found God. So he's being preached to by God in prison. I mean, how much more spot on do you want to get? It's describing everything right now. And then you have the cherry on the cake. Genesis 3:19. You will eat bread by the sweat of your brow until you return to the ground, since you were taken from it. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. I mean, oh my, wow. I'm trying not to take the Lord's name in vain, as somebody has told me in the comments, but OMG, if you know what I mean. It's the perfect moment to say it. So what does Genesis 3:19 mean? This verse concludes God's curse on Adam for his sin, and it has a devastating ring of finality. In the previous two verses, God revealed that Adam's working life in the fields would be marked by pain and frustration, like Chris. The ground itself would be cursed, making it difficult to get the crops they would need to live, like Chris, feeling like he's drowning financially. And now God concludes by saying that instead of work being a joyful source of purpose and meaning in Adam's life, it would be a lifelong source of pain and frustration again. This is like almost textbook Chris Watts case. Adam's sin was to be tempted by Eve. What was Chris's sin? Be tempted by Kessinger. But again, maybe it's just coincidence, right? And it would be, Adam's life would now be hard and sweaty. It would end in Adam's eventual death. God, who formed Adam out of the dust of the ground, announces that Adam will one day die and return to dust. Death would be the final consequence of Adam's choice to sin, just as God had warned when giving the command. It's unbelievable. When I read, I didn't, if somebody would have told me before I read this myself, I would not have believed it. I don't really read the Bible, so I don't know those things. It is true that Adam did not stop breathing on the day that he ate of the tree, but death entered into his life on that day. In modern language, we sometimes refer metaphorically to a person with a fatal injury or disease as already dead. Adam's heart may have continued to beat for many years, but the poison which killed him entered his body when he sinned. What killed Christopher Watts? NK. Christopher Watts is not dead, but he is like a dead man walking now. He's in jail for life. So, going back to all those elites going to have fun at the Bohemian Grove, do you remember the whole Podesta emails, the whole affair, the whole sordid affair? John Podesta, who was the long-term associate of the Clintons and the President Bill Clinton chief of staff from 1988 till 2001. And then he also controls the Podesta Group, which is a major lobbying firm, and is the chair of the Center for American Progress. And he was also responsible of Hillary Clinton's campaign. Do you remember when his email were hacked into and then leaked online, which were the WikiLeaks of 2016? It created a whole, oh my God, it created, excuse me again, OMG, I need to stop doing that. It created a whole media buzz because of the horrors that we saw in those emails, including some of Hillary's emails. The Clinton Podesta email scandal is truly an astonishing and revealing expose. Although, to be fair to those researchers studying the dark underbelly of the New World Order conspiracy, it is more revealing than astonishing, since we have known for some time that the inner echelon of the New World Order is heavily into pedophilia and Satanism. Now, however, there is proof in black and white in the form of the leaked emails of John Podesta, former lobbyist and Clinton campaign manager, and thanks to WikiLeaks, we now have the verified authentic emails of Podesta. This is not conspiracy. This is true. This happened. They are replete with references to pedophilia and Satanism. Although the pedophilia is crouched in code language, the code is still being worked on by various independent researchers around the web. Like, for example, there was a reference to sacrificing a chicken to Moloch. Guess who Moloch is? Moloch is that big old entity, the big old statue, which you saw in the Alex Jones video at the Bohemian Grove. This is the entity that the Bohemian Club worships. Bohemian Club, aka Skull and Bones. It's one of their entities that they do allegedly mock sacrifices to. So yeah, Hillary Clinton will no longer be the next US president. Hopefully, that's what they were saying after that. And then we saw Trump got elected. So the satanic references in Clinton Podesta email chains. There's the sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch. With fingers crossed, the old rabbit's foot out of the box in the attic. I will be sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch. Sacrificing a chicken to Moloch. This may be taken literally or quite possible in that pedophilia code that chickens mean child, in which case it may be referring to child sacrifice. I personally think, at first I thought it was literal, as in like, because there's a lot of people that do chicken sacrifices, including that singer, I forgot her name, Azealia Banks, if you ever heard of her. She even posted herself cleaning a closet, a sacrifice closet, which she had dried chicken blood and feathers all over. You should Google that. Google Azealia Banks chicken sacrifice. You'll see, you'll be horrified. So you can check this out right here. Let's read it together. Either way, the line is an apparent reference to Moloch, a favorite god of Satanism, and a Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice. Moloch is the deity worshipped at the Bohemian Grove as a giant 40-foot owl. Thanks to the footage obtained by Alex Jones when he broke into the Bohemian Grove in the year 2000, we know that the NWO, New World Order conspirators who gathered there partake in a dark ceremony known as the cremation of care, which features sacrifice. That particular video appears to show mock sacrifice, but there are people who have personally gone through the horror of being haunted at the Bohemian Grove, such as Katie Collins, and lived to tell the story. Again, not conspiracy, true story that you can verify. Because allegedly there are also human hunting parties where they hunt human beings. But they go on to say, even if you don't believe that, the very fact that people are gathered around in secret, worshipping dark forces and deliberately trying to destroy the compassion, empathy, and love inside of themselves, the cremating of care, is a very disturbing reality, especially when you consider these are the people running our world. I mean, conspiracy or not, you gotta admit that. This last sentence is exactly what I mean. It should bother you. May you believe in conspiracy or not, it doesn't change the fact that there's these people in power that have rule over us that meet and practice these secret ceremonies who are very occultic and very dark. It doesn't change that. So let's take a good look now at the rest of the Podesta emails. Pizzagate pedophilia code, pizza, pasta, cheese, walnut sauce, and more. Sites such as We Are Change have already done a great job exposing Marina Abramovic. You're gonna learn about her. And her invitation to the Podesta brothers, John and Tony, for spirit cooking dinners at her house, where the participants would engage in a weird satanic ritual involving body fluids such as blood, semen, and breast milk, and using animal blood. Oh my god, don't even get me started on that. Abramovic, or Abramovich, depending who you ask, is known for her often gory art that confronts pain and ritual. Her first performance involved repeatedly stabbing herself in her hands. The next performance featured her throwing her nails, toenails, and hair into a flaming 5-pointed star. These are some of the words Marina painted in blood on her wall during the supposed spirit cooking. Fresh morning urine sprinkled over nightmare dreams. With a sharp knife, cut deeply into your middle finger of your left hand, feel the pain. They got it wrong right there. The original text was eat the pain. And then they showed a picture of John Podesta with both middle finger, especially the one on his left hand, heavily scarred. Here you see an email that seems very weird that was also most likely pedophilia related. So here you go. The email 435 invites Clinton campaign members to a rural getaway where 3 children aged 6, almost 7, 9, and 11 would be supplied for entertainment. We plan to hit the pool, so swim is a possibility. Bonnie will be Uber service to transport Ruby, Emerson, and Maeve Luzzato, 11, 9, and almost 7, so you'll have some further entertainment, and they will be in that pool for sure. If that doesn't sound suspicious to you and kind of almost sick, I don't know what will, man. Other researchers have compiled a great list of evidence that James Alefantis may be involved too. James Alefantis, the owner of Comet Pizza, who is supposed to be a pedophile party place. Conclusion: will President-elect Trump pursue Hillary Clinton's crimes? Will he follow through on that? Sorry to bust the Trump euphoria, but no, unfortunately, the chances are pretty low. Trump himself may be involved in the same kind of I don't want to say the word again, I need to stop saying that word, P-rings as the Clintons and Epstein, although probably minus the Satanism. So I don't know, that's your own opinion. I'm just reading what is written in this article. Your opinions are your own. New WikiLeaks email suggests John Podesta attended a spirit cooking dinner party at Marina Abramovich's house. Given what we know about the performance artist's so-called fascination, it is safe to assume they weren't saying the Lord's Prayer. So what happened at this dinner party? Marina Abramovich demonstrates what spirit cooking is in a YouTube video. You can see that video to this day, it's on YouTube. Painting a wall with pig blood, Abramovich smears the sentence with a sharp knife cut deeply into the middle finger of your left hand. Eat the pain. Again, fresh morning urine sprinkled over nightmare dreams. Abramovich then throws blood over a small statue in the corner of the room before writing, "Spirit cooking." Blood is then ceremoniously run around the four corners of the room. Another message on the wall reads, "Mix fresh breast milk with fresh sperm milk. Dream on earthquake nights." And then there's this email to Tony Podesta, who is the brother of John Podesta, and she was inquiring if John, the brother of Tony, would be attending her next spirit cooking at her house. Spirit cooking, according to an article about Marina Abramovich, is about the conversion of matter into energy. Again, people, read between the lines. We're not taking things literally, like they aren't. Like 666 isn't just about the devil, how we found out earlier, but it is more about really, truly being the element, the carbon 12 symbology for it. Abramovich derived their inspiration from the popular belief that the spirits still need food, even though it is not longer solid, but in the form of light, sound, and emotions. Again, here we go with the frequencies and the elite, especially the elite, being aware of it and how to benefit from it. The only spirits that need food in the form of light and sound and negative emotions are the archons, who control mankind. They have entrapped our souls eons ago in the reincarnation cycle. This superstition is found in numerous cultures, and there are even strict rules as to how this spiritual fare should be prepared. In this paradox, in the material underpinning of something immaterial, the physical and spiritual worlds meet. Like, for example, this is why they do things usually around 3 in the morning, because supposedly both worlds converge, the material and the immaterial. To use our own words, when you make something visible for something invisible, the invisible becomes visible. I know it sounds very cryptic, but it's actually not that complicated. I almost did an F-bomb right there. Oops. Sorry. Here you have a picture of 2 photos actually of some of Marina and her art. I don't know. Do you look upon these photos as something pious? My dog just snored so hard right now. I'm sure you guys have heard it. I mean, look at that. This woman is literally cutting into her own flesh a pentagram and taking pictures of the blood dripping. It's pretty scary. And then there's that mock cannibalistic dinner that she had for celebrities at the Mocha Gala in California. Literally, it was literally a mock cannibalistic feast. You're gonna see photos right now. They had a cake made in the form of human bodies that you could cut into, and then that all the celebrities would eat and partake into eating. The person that's in red, that's the singer from the band Blondie. Remember Blondie? That's Debbie Harry. She was the one that cut the cake, did the honors of cutting the first cake. Will Ferrell was there. Dita Von Teese was there. So many of your favorite actors and actresses were there. And then there's that other spirit cooking dinner she had with Lady Gaga and others, where she had actual human beings laid on in tubs of some of her mixtures. Remember the mixtures of sperm milk and breast milk and all that jazz? It was mixed with chocolate and stuff like that, plus the fluids of the person being naked and laying down in it for God knows. Sorry again for taking the Lord's name in vain. And I'm going to hear that in the comment, and I'm not mocking you when I say that, but there was the good people saying this and then the bad people attacking me on this. And again, to go back to these cannibalistic things, they don't even hide it in popular culture. They show you in movies, in music, and all those events that you see on television, like the Super Bowl commercials and all that stuff. They show you exactly all these occult rituals. So remember when I was talking about the effect of symbols on the human brain and how you could do mind control through that? Well, let's read up on that. Symbolism works on both visual and phonetic levels, on a subconscious level, to affect the psyche, which is why it works so well, and also why so many people don't see it happening. You don't. So many times you pass by symbols targeted to make you buy something or to make you want something, and you don't even realize it. Later on, you find yourself buying that thing and you don't even know why. You think it's your own idea, but it's not. One might even recognize language as a type of spell, no pun intended, which is why you use the word spelling. Whatever the case may be, language is one of the first things an infant begins to learn in an effort to communicate. It is visual and phonetically perceived once a person begins to learn to write, and texting has allowed for people to see more clearly the symbolism inherent in our language. More and more people are getting aware of that. There are many methods of mind control that have been uncovered. As most of you know, there is symbolism and subliminals used in movies, music, and television. Like, for example, the video I showed you of Katy Perry. There are also high-tech forms of mind control using implants, nano or otherwise, and other technologies. There is mind control involving the use of trauma to mess with the human being's psychology. There is a form of mind control that uses popular archetypes to remove free will to a large degree. And then there is the manipulation of language itself. While the technology seems to be completely plausible, taking a look at language, specifically the English language, in this article, because it has been around much longer than the technology currently has been, and it has a wider scope of impact. Sorry, sometimes I stutter a little bit because that's a lot of reading. Language, including words, names, phrases, and slang, seems to contain a disproportionate amount of negative symbolism. Try to be aware of that. And it can even sometimes be confusing, albeit on a level that is hard to discern. Again, hidden. This creates a subconscious and subtle base layer of confusion, which then sets the stage for general mind control using other technologies, like movies, music, and television, for example. Because symbolism bypasses the conscious mind and goes straight into the subconscious, it is a type of programming, especially when used in language, which is learned during the most impressionable years of a child's life. And then they go on to say, here are some words and numbers that should be looked symbolically, given the way that symbolism affects the human brain. Remember how earlier I told you the most effective symbolism was religious symbolism, especially negative religious symbolism, like the devil, 666, demonic images and words, stuff like that. This is the study on this, specifically on the impact of negative religious language. So I have it here. I'm going to show it here in full. So if anyone is interested, you can pause and check that what I'm saying is true. Because if I start reading all of this video is already long. We're just never going to finish. I feel so bad to have made a video so long, but I just needed to tell you all the stuff I found. It's not that I just found it. I knew about a lot of that stuff for a long time. But when you relate it to a case like Chris Watts and you see, for example, the coincidences with Anadarko and Survey and all the rest, it's starting to become scary. Which, speaking of, going back to the case, remember Nicole Kessinger's hidden company, secret company, the name of which was Satya Consulting LLC. Satya is the Sanskrit word for truth. It is also one of the 5 yamas, the virtuous restraint from falsehood and the distortion of reality in one's expressions and actions. I tried to tell you this in the first video. Does it make sense now? And then we need to remember our bud, the owner of Blackstone, who has a strong interest in genetics and in artificial intelligence. The Blackstone guy that owns Vivint and that owns stakes in Anadarko. Let's not forget about that guy, right? So is it really that far-fetched that they could use something like Vivint to, I don't know, influence, let's not say brainwash, but at least influence certain citizens, persons of interest, targets, as they like to call them? I don't think it's that far-fetched when you see everything I've just showed you. When you know that the guy, that's the top guy at the NSA, never goes online on his computer unless he has a band-aid covering the camera, he's not doing this for no reason. If that guy is doing it, being the guy of the NSA, you'd think he would know why he's doing this for, right? It wouldn't be just for decoration. I don't think band-aids are that pretty, right? There's a reason for it, because that's how you find people, that's how you track people of interests. And again, when we go back to the Blackstone guy, you know, being drawn to artificial intelligence and being very keen on a discipline that's based on pattern recognition, aka symbolism, which he's been doing for years. And when we see how close he is to Trump and to Kushner, well, I don't know. Does it raise any flags for you guys? It sure raises a big red flag for me. By the way, they call him Trump, the China whisperer for Trump. You can dig for that on your own. People try to belittle Freemasonry and their power in this society, but it's very... the dangerous thing is actually not giving them enough credit. Masons and other secret societies have a lot of power and a lot of influence when it comes to our society. Do not belittle them, guys. Don't take them for like little players. They are not just a group for no reason. Speaking of secret society again, remember how I told you when I read you the motto of the Bohemian Club? Weaving spiders come not here, that it was taken from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night Dream. Well, there's a reason for that, because Midsummer, especially Midsummer Night, is one of the most important dates in the occult world. It is on this date every year that a lot of huge ceremonies are taking place. And the reason for that is that it is part of the dog days, what we call the dog days. The dog days, and specifically the dog days of August. The dog days is referring to the dog star. The dog star being Sirius, which is one of the most biggest items in the occult world. And the 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall only mentions it once. In this sentence, the dog star Sirius, or Sothis, was sacred to the Egyptians because it presaged the annual inundations of the Nile, again with the Egyptians. And the 33rd degree Mason Albert Pike says, to find the blazing star of the 5 points, an allusion to the divine providence, is also fanciful, and to make it commemorative of the star that is said to have guided the Magi is to give it a meaning comparatively modern. Originally, Sirius, or the dog star, the forerunner of the inundations of the Nile, the god Anubis, companion of Isis in her search for the body of Osiris, her brother and husband, and then it became the image of Horus, the son of Osiris himself. Horus, remember Lucifer, Phosphorus, the son of Osiris, the son of the sun himself. And many years back, at that time, the dog star appeared red in the sky. Sirius was a big red star, which is why they started comparing it to the sun. It's known throughout Latin literature, and they reference that many times as the dog days, which is where it came from. These hot, parched days were thought by that time to derive some of their ferocity and dryness from the searing of Sirius. I'm telling you guys, everything has a reason for these people. Nothing is coincidence, maybe for us, but not for them. Wilson, in turn, partly became obsessed with the number 23 after supposedly receiving telepathic messages from an alien race based upon Sirius after performing a Aleister Crowley-inspired ritual on July 22nd, the eve of the 23rd, 1973. The skeptic went to town and browsed in the public library. Imagine my state of mind when I discovered that this very day, July 23rd, Sirius is very important. It is the day when, according to Egyptian tradition, the occult link is the most powerful between Earth and Sirius. Sirius is also 23 times as luminous as our own sun, and even though its distance from the Earth is that of 8.5 light years, and it dims its luminosity, it is still the brightest star in the sky. It could also be called the morning star. This is most interesting, especially considering the occult belief in Sirius as a kind of hidden sun. This brings us back to the five-pointed blazing star of Freemasonry that Pike described above. According to David Wilson, the five-pointed star of Masonry was adopted from an Egyptian symbol many years ago. So the stars upon our flag and the badges of our neighborhood policemen are symbolic of the star Sirius. Maybe even the Declaration of Independence itself was signed on the beginning of the dog days, July 4th. All of this is most striking, but there is an even more bizarre connection concerning the geographic location of certain structures, like that dates back to ancient Egypt, like the elliptical rising of Sirius that was so important that they constructed their main monuments so it would coincide when the rays of the star would hit it, like the rays of the sun, like they did with the rays of the sun. It would just shine bright in these little aisles that they used to carve in stone. The extraordinary truth is that the very existence of the Washington Monument is intimately linked with the Egyptian star Sirius, the sea whore that the ancient represented in their sacred hieroglyphics as an obelisk form as well as a star. And the founding of the Washington Monument, when you really look at it, was made in connection to Sirius, and it's not the only monument such as this. So what do you have? You have the how, you have the why, you have the timing. All you're missing is the sacrifice. And the human sacrifice that is required during many of these occult dates, especially the dark days of August, need to contain the following elements, each one of which is exaggerated to the highest possible degree. We're gonna list them right now. The first one needs to create trauma, stress, and mental anguish, sheer terror, which it has accomplished with our emotions, all the emotions of the people that have been touched by the case. That's exactly what it accomplished. Then the final act in the drama should be destruction by a fire, preferably a conflagration, which would have happened if Chris had had the time to set fire to the oil batteries, which he wasn't able to do due to Atkinson. And then you have the third requirement, which is that people must die as human sacrifices, especially children, since Lord Satan looks upon a younger human sacrifice as his most desirable. Well, right there they got three, Bella, Sissy, and Nico. And the number 3 is not a coincidence either. The number 3 is a very, very important occult number for rituals. So that kind of reminds us of like crazy stories of monsters, including Vlad himself, the Impaler, who is an original ancestor to a lot of kings and presidents, including the Bushes. And guess what? Vlad's drug of choice was adrenalized human blood, which is where the whole blood obsession started with the elite. Little fact that's not very known, Google has two softwares. One is called Adreno and the other one is called Chrome. And I wonder if you guys have ever heard of a drug called Adrenochrome. It's been made, it's mostly known by the movie Fear and Loathing in Vegas and by the author Hunter S. Thompson. Most people thought that it was conspiracy. Well, lo and behold, it is not. Adrenochrome is very real and it exists. And if you could put your hands on it, you could do it yourself. And when you add that to Google's logo, it's pretty scary that Google would pick the name Adreno and for his software and for another software the name Chrome, right? What are the odds of them doing that unless they knew about it? So, what is adrenochrome? Meet the biochemical that the elitist Zionists are using to get high. This is not conspiracy again. This is truth. Adrenochrome, a chemical known at least since the 1930s, is a chemical compound with the molecular formula C9H9NO3, produced by the oxidation of adrenaline, epinephrine, in mammals, aka human beings. The chemical especially concentrates in the body during times of high flight or fight responses condition, such as during extreme trauma and suffering. Author Hunter S. Thompson mentioned adrenochrome in his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It also appears in the novel's film's adaptation. How is the drug adrenochrome harvested? Adrenochrome is generally known to be harvested from the pineal gland of penguins in places such as Antarctica. However, this obviously does not meet the global Zionist elite's need for getting intoxicated and drunk on their conquests. Therefore, tying into Pedogate, which was recently rolled up and uncovered by the United States Department of Justice, again, not conspiracy, but fact, the Zionist elite instead kidnapped children, rape and torture them in order to concentrate the adrenaline, epinephrine, in their glands and then harvest the adrenochrome from the glands while the subject is still living. Oh my god, I know you can hear my dog snoring so much. Excuse me, guys. And then harvest the adrenochrome from the glands while the subject is living. Adrenochrome does not last long in a corpse. That's why you have to do it while the subject is living. And finally, murder the victim after the drug is extracted. Alternatively, the subject may be kept alive for repeated extractions, and in this case, needle to the eye to extract the adrenochrome from the brainstem without cutting into the skull. This was satirized in the first episode of a British TV series. Of course, this all seems like a joke, but we know how the Zionist elite love to rub the truth in our faces in plain daylight. What are Google Adreno and Google Chrome? But where do the Zionist elite acquire living subjects to harvest the chemicals then? This constant need for living subjects to harvest the chemical out of the adrenal glands is why Zionists do not want peace in Israel. The status quo of the Israel-Palestinian conflict has made Palestinians into de facto and de jure second-class citizens who can be legally harvested at any time by any Israeli citizen for organs, tissue, and precious adrenochrome. They also run a massive child trafficking ring all over the world, which buy and sell children. By the way, adrenochrome is more concentrated in children. So, this is why they prefer it to be harvested from children under the age of 10. Adrenochrome more readily concentrates in the child gland since the glands do not grow much with age and since children experience massively heightened fight or flight reactions and increased adrenaline surges as a result of trauma. According to the FBI, there are averaging almost 500,000 of missing children in America every single year. 500,000, and that's not even the true number. Scientists have speculated that long-term exposure to adrenochrome may cause schizophrenia. This may in part be why Zionists are over 30 more times more likely than the general population to suffer from the mental disorder. Do you remember the walnut sauce from the Podesta emails that I read about earlier? Well, the pineal gland resembles a walnut. So now you can put two and two together, right? If that doesn't horrify you, I don't know what else will. Because this is not conspiracy. This drug exists, it's proven, we saw the Podesta emails, I mean, come on guys. They go on to say, in fact, adrenochrome is like heroin. Engage in its recreational use and your own adrenaline production will shut down through homeostasis and negative feedback loops. Meaning that if you don't have some tortured baby blood, you will go into full cold turkey mode akin to alcohol, opiate, or benzodiazepine withdrawals. Remember guys, English is not my first language. Thank you for not assassinating me in the comments. This is what these elite Zionists are all get addicted to. And Mel Gibson kinda exposed them. I don't know if you remember when he did, a couple years ago. And then they tried to shut him down by making claims about him that he was crazy. So here you can see an article. It's actually more like a diary entry of one of these elite persons that took adrenochrome and is recording how he felt like while under the influence of the drug. The main effect was not caring about any life whatsoever, especially not caring about human, being devoid of human emotions, and just being interested by morbidity. And here we see again other people wondering about Google's deal with Adreno and Chrome, because people are starting to notice it. Which leads us to the elite's fascination with blood and why they are so inclined to want to deal with it. Look at this. The elites are pursuing immortality using the blood of younger people. And this is a fact again, and I'm going to show you that's a fact and not conspiracy. In an interview with Inc. magazine, billionaire PayPal founder Peter Thiel said he was very interested in young people's blood and his dream of living forever. Injecting blood from a younger person in your vein is called pahabiosis, and let's see what that does. Elites, like Peter Thiel, feel that it is a great way to improve health and potentially reverse aging. Inc. magazine recently reported, speaking of weird and unsavory, if there's one thing that really excites Thiel is the prospect of having younger blood transfused into his own veins. I'm looking into pahabiosis stuff, which I think is really interesting. This is where they did the young blood into older mice and they found that it had a massive rejuvenating effect. And so, that is one that, again, is one of these very odd things that people had done and didn't pay much attention to in the past because they had done this study a very long time ago and Thiel felt that it needed to be looked into a little bit more than it had. So again, it's one of these very odd things that where people had done these studies in the 50s and it got dropped altogether. And he thinks it had been underexplored. Peter Thiel, billionaire Peter Thiel, one of the people that is part of the list of 75 people, the most powerful of the planet, that I read to you earlier, believes it all. Singularity, convergence, transcendence, and most importantly, transhumanism. Transcendence would be when you download your consciousness into a computer or into the body of a clone, of a fresh clone of yourself. Remember the obsession with immortality? There you go. That's where it's coming from also. I'm telling you guys, everything is linked. Everything. Remember guys, the meaning of 322? The 322 of Skull and Bones, which was a Bible passage saying how God was talking about how man already took a bite of the tree of knowledge and all he has to do is to do the same thing with the tree of life and he will become immortal like God himself. all-knowing, and, immortal. It's crazy, huh? So what these people need to understand is that they are not just messing with blood and aging, but with the seat of the soul and the human consciousness which resides in the blood and heart. For example, parabiosis is actually defined as a class of techniques in which two living organisms are joined together surgically and develop single shared physiological unity. Systems, actually, such as a shared circulatory system or shared blood. This is what happens when you receive blood from someone else, or an organ, when you have an organ donor. You are not just receiving their blood, but also their soul and life that is not joined together with yours. This is partly the reason that people feel and look younger, because they are not dual beings. Their original self is now merged with the soul of the younger person whose soul is not part of them. I don't know if you've ever heard of organ transplants recipients that say that they start having memories of another life, of the deceased person who gave the organs. This is also verified in many news articles. This is not conspiracy. Here you have the picture of a guy that is a Stanford-trained physician, Jessica Karsmahin. This new parabiosis movement is being led by a California startup, blood magic company called Ambrosia. Ambrosia is something, it's a very occult word too. And like I said, it was founded by this guy from Stanford. And it deals into looking into this parabiosis movement. And a lot of people like him are starting to pick up on that. And look what they do. Those who consume ambrosia typically had not blood in their veins, but ichor in the Greek myths. Ambrosia's founder, which is where the name Ambrosia comes from, Greek mythology. The Stanford-trained physician became interested in aging as an undergraduate about a decade ago after witnessing a mouse study that had shown the reversal of aging symptoms across every major organ system. His work was also influenced by the research of a Russian physician named Alexander Bogdanov. I'm sure you've heard of that guy, who in the 1920s gave himself infusions of young human blood that he claimed boosted his energy level and gave him a more youthful appearance. Well, Elizabeth Bathory used to think that too, and she used to take blood baths from virgins, the blood of virgins. There is overwhelming data suggesting that young plasma will be beneficial to people. The effects seem to be almost permanent. It is almost like there's a resetting of the gene expression. His firm recently started clinical trials where each patient, age 35 and older, must pay $8,000 to receive an infusion of plasma, which is blood, derived from a young donor, aged 16 to 25. A panel of age-associated biomarkers will be measured before and after treatment. One of his role models, Bogdanov, was a Marxist key figure in the early Bolshevik age, and being one of its co-founders and a rival to Vladimir Lenin until being expelled in 1909. And like we say, karma is a bee, because ironically, Bogdanov didn't extend his life, and instead he ended it when he died from the result of a blood transfusion after he became infected with both tuberculosis and malaria. Apparently, he had taken the wrong donor, which they like to refer to these people as donor, but honestly, in my eyes, it's more like it's theft, right? So all this blood stuff is not the only thing they do with blood. They also try to, like I told you, there's a lot of things about energy, how they're trying to harvest energy from emotions, but also blood. And right now they're trying to figure out how to turn blood into energy, how we can turn our veins into power plants. It's crazy. There's so much stuff that we're not even aware about. There's just stuff that's been disclosed right there. Russian nuclear scientists are developing a new method of generating electricity from human blood to allow pacemakers to work without replacement. You can buy wireless rechargers for your cell phone, and the technology for recharging batteries wirelessly has been around for several decades. But now they're trying to do that so you can recharge stuff like pacemaker without having to have surgery. So let's just stop here because this is gonna get over and over again. You know, the funny part is, as I was wrapping up this video, at the same exact time, our friend at Operation Z just posted a video on how he thought that the Antichrist had arrived and that 2020 was the year to look for, and how he thought that Jared Kushner was the Antichrist. Well, over here, we're not gonna even give him that much credit because, you know, like I said, it's giving them way too much credit. But we're gonna recognize, I'm talking about Kushner, not Operation Z. We're gonna recognize, though, that is the body of who? That's right, the Blackstone guy. The Blackstone guy we've been talking about, who is the link of all the companies in the common link in all the companies in the Chris Watts case. And here you see him pictured with Kushner and pictured with Trump, because all three of them are like three peas in a pod, literally. And Kushner recently has been attracting a lot of attention, and some people even think that he's going to be a candidate in the next presidential elections, that he's going to take Trump's spot. There is another last point, another last chuckle for you guys. The real estate company owned by Jared Kushner's family is dumping its financially troubled flagship skyscraper in New York City, which is, guess what? Ta-da! 666 Fifth Avenue. Guess who had funded Kushner so he could buy this building at 666 Fifth Avenue? That's right, our buddy over at Blackstone. The Kushner Company, the real estate company owned by Jared Kushner's family, is dumping his stake in its flagship 666 Fifth Avenue building. He bought 666 Fifth Avenue for $1.8 billion. That's a lot of money just to have a street number. In 2007, but he struggled with debt payment on the building ever since. And now, real estate giant Brookfield will take over the 99-year lease from the Kushner Company. I'm sure 99 is not a mistake either. So here we are at the end of this video, wrapping up again where we started with Blackstone. Please, as I need to protect my butt here and read between the lines, I am not accusing the owner of Blackstone or anybody in this video of anything. I'm just underlining for you guys certain odd facts and certain common points that I have found while investigating on my own. So why Shannon? Why Chris? Well, here you got it. Another good article by Nick over at Crime Rocket. She's a Facebook maven, is an introvert. And that's the Chris Watts case and the relationship dynamic in a nutshell. And it's all very simple, but we see a myriad of complicated psychologies as we go on in this case. Was it premeditated or involuntary, or both? In the context of true crime, and the Watts case in particular, we need to be sure to what extent Watts' agency was unconscious or even to some extent involuntary, or whether it was intentional. This is a tricky one because the premeditated murder makes what he did seem very purposeful. In the high-profile cases that Nick has studied, Watts went to more trouble than most to dispose of his victim. The only one that went to just as much trouble was Scott Peterson, which most likely him too wasn't just a random murder, run-of-the-mill murder, if you get my drift. Read between the lines always, guys. What cannot be disputed is that Watts' agency as a man was low, and that's true. Even Shannon herself said that. He was a yes ma'am man. Always yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. His capacity to represent himself was low. He lacked capacity in terms of his wife, and later towards his own children and unborn child, to the media, and he folded spectacularly when faced with proper interrogation techniques, as discussed in, and he links an article imposed on him by the FBI and CBI. Well, I do agree and I don't agree here because I think they could have cracked down way more on him. His failure to pass the polygraph also shows something else. It's not so much that he took the test and failed, but that he took the test in the first place to begin with. So when you think about it, it doesn't seem too far-fetched that since he already had the right psychological profile and he already had the required things in him, that somebody would just give him a little push for him to do what he did. And remember the CIA chief quote I had already given you here, which was, again, that items of interests, targets, will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technologies such as radio frequency identification, sensor networks, tiny embedded servers, and energy harvesters, all connected to the next generation internet using abundant, low-cost, and high-power computing. Remember also the Freedom of Information Act diagrams that I showed you earlier, where it showed that you could do that through the walls of houses. By the way, just out of curiosity, do you see this little image move right there? Is it moving on your screen? Because it's not a GIF. It's not a video. It's just an image. But your eyes are seeing it moving, right? Not brainwashing you, don't worry. By the way, every day on my phone, I get a little Chinese cracker with my fortune in it. And oh, this one was good. There are two reasons for doing something. A really good reason, and then there's the real reason. So that would be good for us to always reflect on that one, because it is very, very true. And it's even more true, even truer, when it comes to our government, or rather, our shadow government. I'm going to wrap up this video here with this quote that I read to you many times. I think it's going to be the third time. Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government, owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. From our dear friend Teddy Roosevelt. And to please the person in the comments that was wondering who the ugly bald guy with glasses was, here you go. Nothing in this world operates as you think it does. Your government no longer serves you. It serves banks that no longer loan money but create debt from thin air, which is enforced by police, who no longer work for you, but for whom you're taught to obey in school, which is no longer an institution of learning but an indoctrination center designed to make you passively accept a culture which is no longer created by individuals but by the very system that is dependent on your obedience. How perfect is that quote? So here's my conspiracy, my opinion right there, okay? Why Chris Watts? Why Shannon? Why did they have to die? What's the purpose if they really orchestrated all of this? That's what I get in the comments. This is the number one thing people ask me when you present them with all this information. So I made a little note right there for you to read. A little note right there for me to read to you. So primarily, when they are not provided satisfactory answers, this is what makes people, even people that feel that something is very wrong, go back on that feeling in favor of, oh no, it's gotta be just a guy who snapped. So that's why it's very, very tricky to answer something like this. Again, public service announcement. This is my opinion, my conspiracy. It's all allegedly, okay? Well, to me, the answer is simple. It could have been anyone. As long as they had the same behavioral and psychological characteristic as Shannon and Chris, of course. I think, but like I said, it's just a thought. It's not necessarily truth. Read between the lines. This is to cover my butt. I think they were profiled for a reason. I think her for her bossy, take by the bull by the horn, go-getter attitude, and also her large social media circle, and the fact that she was addicted to social media because of her job, which assured the public outcry later on. Because think about it, how many terrible murders have happened that we never heard of? Why some but not others? Wouldn't it be these three people that we talked about earlier, these three media companies that decide what we hear, what we don't? Maybe. And then there's him, who was chosen for his passive, typical ex-bullied little black duck, the hairy caterpillar who finally came out of his cocoon as a little butterfly, and this later than sooner in life. And I really hate to have to use the butterfly comparison, but you get my drift. The ex-fat guy who is not fit and who's getting outside attention when he used to get none. A man who has all those repressed feelings of inferiority bottled up, just needing the right element to explode, like Kissinger. It's almost like a bad chemical reaction. Most elements we know can do wonderful things if they're paired with the right one or on their own. But if you make the mistake of adding one of the wrong kinds into a solution, then it reacts badly and it explodes. And that's the best metaphor that I can use to describe the effect that NK had on the relationship of Chris and Shannon. It was like almost guaranteed if you know, again, if you know their psychic profiles, psychological profiles. Now ask yourself, after all you have seen in this video right now, honestly, could it be possible that they were profiled for those very reasons? Could it be possible that NK could have just happened on the way and consciously or unconsciously created this end result? Maybe that someone was counting on that. It could explain the research on Shannon that she did almost a year prior to hooking up with Chris, to study her, to learn the triggers and the buttons that Chris had, his likes and his dislikes. It could explain also why she had all this preferential treatment by law enforcement versus other people like Atkinson and her son, who were treated like common criminals, despite the fact that they were not the ones being pinged at 6 a.m. Pinned by GPS, phone GPS, at 6 a.m. in the area where the murder was committed. I don't know, you know. What's scary in all of this is that the conspiracy, in the end, it explains way more things than the version of events that we were given. And maybe that's what upsets people. If you followed everything along this video and you don't feel the need to reconsider everything that you know about this case, to me, it is troubling. The point of this video, again, was not to accuse anyone, any entity, any group, any company, or anything, and of anything. I'm not, again, whoever I'm talking about in this video, I am not accusing them of anything. I have to make this disclaimer, just like I have to put this template disclaimer that I have not written myself in my Dropbox. Somebody made a smart, snarky comment about this and quoted me the entire disclaimer that I made. I didn't write this. I'm just putting this to cover my butt legally. So yeah, how many coincidences is it gonna take for someone to stop calling this case coincidental? What is the magic number that would make everybody agree to at least to just take a closer look and to investigate for themselves versus accepting what the media feeds them? Again, the media being owned by free companies, aka being owned by free people. Do you want free people to tell you what to believe, or do you want yourself to tell yourself what to believe? I'd rather it be me who decides what I believe in. Again, please, let's be clear. Nothing here takes any responsibility away from Chris and from what he did. I don't want to hear it in the comments. I am not trying to deflect anything that Chris did. No matter what, he murdered his family, which means he had it in himself to do so. And being given a push in that direction or not is still exactly where he deserves to be. I'm not, and I will never be, a Watts apologist. His weak mind actually disgusts me just as much as the shenanigans of the so-called elite disgust me. I only decided to finally take a look back at something that I have really avoided discussing since February, because I was not able to make other YouTubers talk about it. They either didn't get my message, or I don't know, they didn't care. And so I decided to share it with you, since apparently I have attracted the most awesome subscribers. And I'm actually over the moons with that. I cannot believe my luck to have such a good bunch of people in my comments, and sometimes I actually find myself leaving Bible comment answers to you. So yeah, I'm not trying to brainwash you at all. I'm trying actually to encourage you to dig for yourself always. And if at least this will have made some of you think about our current reality and given you the push to never take anyone's word on anything, especially the media's word, until you have done your own due diligence, then this video will not have been made in vain. I just would encourage you also to be aware, be alert, be kind, and to spread love. And I really want to give you my blessings to all of you who made it all the way to the end of this video, who is like the Titanic movie. I hope I didn't lose any of you right here. And I also really hope that I didn't lose any of your support for shining light on oddities, albeit scary ones, surrounding the Watts case. By the way, I promise I will not turn this channel into a conspiracy one-on-one center and a Titanic long movie center. Much love to you all, guys. I really appreciate every single one of you, and you mean so much to me when you write to me in the comments. It's like, it makes my day. Shout outs to the following people. And by the way, for again, the ones that made it all the way to the end, I now have a special appearance from a special person to give the closing statement. And you will never guess who. It's a little note written by our dear Nikki Kessinger. So let's read it together and we can end on this. You already know that I'm going to take my stupid voice to read this. The most vital element to make a nation strong is people. Not just any kind of people, but well-informed, educated, open-minded people who care about their country and the world. It would be idealistic to believe that Americans are this type of people, because we are not. Not all are educated, not all care about US foreign and local affairs, and not all know what is happening even within our own country. Certainly, not all are open-minded. You cannot be open-minded and still label people as hippies, commies, or the N-word because of a difference of color, hair length, or IDs. And above all, we are not well-informed. We are misinformed and underinformed. The blame falls on the people's shoulders, not the government or newsmen. We have allowed ourselves to be swayed and confused and duped by these information centers. We punish no one but ourselves for not questioning our sources of information. It is all right to find out the truth and to become the type of people that will make our country and our world strong. Sincerely, Nikki Kessinger.